to do today was to try and give you a quick gallop through some of the freely available resources for remote sensing and GIS for the polar regions. I work at British Antarctic Survey, so the talk's quite focused on Antarctica, but hopefully a lot of the things that I say will also be applicable to the Arctic region. And from listening to you going around the room, then obviously some of you are remote sensing experts already, but hopefully there'll be something new for everyone, even those of you who've got quite a substantial career in this field already. Those of us who work in Antarctica are very lucky because Antarctica is covered by the Antarctic Treaty, and one of the fundamental points of that is free exchange of data between nations. So it makes it much easier to get your hands on data than in some of the other parts of the world because you don't have so many sovereignty and ownership issues, so that's in our favour. Recently, especially under the flag of IPY, there's been a real effort by the Antarctic community to work on making legacy historic data available, particularly the enormous archive of aerial photography, and there's been a lot of activities to scan all that and make it freely available to researchers. And then secondly, recent developments in web map and web feature servers and browsing tools have made it much easier to find out what information there is out there and then download it. And I've been working in Antarctic since 1990, and I would say that there's been a switch during that period from it being very difficult to actually get your hands on data over to the now almost being too much, and the problem being winnowing what there is to find out the most appropriate for your project. So what I want to do really is give you a quick gallop through what's out there and is freely available, starting off by looking at overview data sets, remote sensing and GIS data sets that are useful for planning your field work, relating higher resolution data to, and also as a backdrop for your own thematic information that you've collected. Then I'll have a look at freely available elevation data sets. A couple of other things that BAS has been involved with that I'd like to fly a flag for in this talk. And then lastly, have a look at how you can actually go out there and search for the information and then download it. And as I said at the beginning, all this stuff's actually in the handout, so you don't need to be frantically scribbling things down as I'm talking. Okay, the first one I wanted to talk about was the SCAR Antarctic Digital Database, and the idea here is that BAS has coordinated a project to bring together the best international mapping of Antarctica at regional scales, so mainly 1 250,000 scale and smaller, although some areas do have large scale, higher resolution information in there. The original version came out in 1993, the end of an enormous project to pull all this data together and edit it so that it was a seamless data set. And you can get at this through WebMap and web feature servers, and it's free download for any type of use once you've registered. And there's lots of different download formats, including ARC, GIS compatible shapefiles, GML and KML. And you can thank Alison Cook, who's at the back, for the Antarctic Peninsula region has got a coastal change layer, which has got lots of information about ice shelf and glacier front change over time, which is a very useful resource. So that's the Antarctic Peninsula and Antarctica, and I'd just also like to say that you can get similar data for the Arctic region from VMAP 0, which is really a compilation of the old digital map of the world 1 to 1 million data set. And if you pick up your free copy of this map, then the Antarctic side is based on the Antarctic Digital Database data set, and the Arctic side is based on VMAP 0, so you can use this map to see the kind of information that's in there. The second important overview dataset really for Antarctica is LIMA, Landsat Image Mosaic of Antarctica. This is a project that came out in IPY. It was a joint effort between the USGS, NASA and BAS. BAS working on the Antarctic Peninsula region. And the idea was to pull together the best scenes from the Landsat 7 archive to make the first seamless, freely available mosaic of Antarctica. So you can see from the graphic that there's well over 1,000 scenes into making this. An enormous effort to go through basically the whole archive of Landsat images to choose the ones with minimum cloud cover and minimum variation in illumination of the sea ice around the coast. And that's all been pulled together and freely available for download. You can see there's a hole in the middle, which is the limit of the Landsat orbit, and that's been filled in with MODIS. I'll talk a bit more about MODIS later. So several different data sets as part of this project. There's a panchromatic mosaic at 15 metres for the whole continent. There's 15 metre resolution pan-sharpened colour mosaics using 321 bands and 432 bands. You can get all of the individual scenes that went into it in their original format. Spatial accuracy is about 50 metres, and the important thing is that it's not just been mosaiced together in Photoshop or something, it's actually had a rigorous processing chain applied to it to minimise variations between the scenes using a technique developed by Bob Binchadler at NASA. And that's illustrated in this slide where you can see on the left the original scenes mosaiced together have this real patchwork because they're taken at different times of the year with different illumination and different overall scene brightness. And on the right, it's had this sort of normalisation process developed by Bob Binchadler applied to it, and you can see it's got a much more even tone over the whole mosaic. Quick look at those type of products. So on the left you can see the true colour pan-sharpened mosaic, and on the right the false colour one. Gives you some idea of the level of detail and the quality of the imagery that's gone into it. And also there are two contrast stretch products specifically aiming at glaciology, where you've got a medium stretch and a high stretch, which are very valuable for bringing out features like crevasses and structure in the ice and so on. So we use LIMA a lot in the mapping group at BAS, both for helping people to plan their project, decide where to land the aircraft, that kind of thing, and also as a backdrop for our regional scale topographic maps. And on the LIMA website there's a very useful browser where you can just roam around the mosaic in real time, very useful for finding out what places are like, and then there's a download path to get the data either as the mosaics or as individual tiles. Okay, I spoke a bit about MODIS, so that was used to fill in the whole south of 82 South in the LIMA mosaic, and that comes from the MODIS satellite, and you can download this from the National Snow and Ice Data Centre. MOA is a mosaic of it, choosing the best scenes to pull together a cloud-free mosaic of Antarctica, using scenes between 2003 and 2004. The resolution is about 150 metres, and you can take it as 125 metre or 750 metre cell